Bullies target single farm mom with baby, unaware she's the state attorney. The wind howled across the barren fields of Willow Creek, kicking up dust that stung Sarah Coleman's face as she clutched her 6-month-old daughter, Emma, tightly to her chest. Behind her loomed the old farmhouse, its peeling paint a silent testament to years of neglect. The storm brewing in the sky cast an ominous gray over the landscape, but it wasn't the weather that made Sarah's heart pound. It was the 3 figures standing at the edge of her property, their silhouettes dark against the fading sunset. They weren't here to talk. They were here to intimidate. And Sarah, a single mom in the middle of nowhere, knew exactly who they were. 6 months ago, Sarah had moved to this small farming town in central Nebraska seeking refuge. As Nebraska state attorney, she had spent years prosecuting drug lords, corrupt officials, and even a serial killer whose case had gripped the nation. The high-profile job, combined with the heartbreak of a crumbling marriage, had left her exhausted. After her divorce, she craved quiet, a place where the air was clean and the world felt safe to raise Emma. She bought the old Miller farm, 40 acres of sprawling fields and a dilapidated house, with savings scraped together from her legal career. It was meant to be a fresh start, a sanctuary. But Willow Creek wasn't the idyllic haven she'd imagined. Trouble began on her 3rd day. Unloading groceries with Emma strapped to her chest, a pickup truck roared past her driveway. The driver leaned out, shouting, "City folks don't last here!" before speeding off, tires spitting gravel. Sarah brushed it off. She'd faced hostile witnesses and death threats in courtrooms. A rude local was nothing. But the incidents piled up. Fences were cut, letting neighbors' cattle wander onto her land. Her mailbox was smashed, her tires slashed. One night someone spray-painted, "Go home," in red letters across her barn. She reported each event to Sheriff Hal Grayson, a weary old man more interested in his coffee than her complaints. "Folks around here don't like outsiders," he'd said with a shrug. "Give it time. They'll warm up." They didn't. The ringleader was Travis Boone, a 35-year-old local with a permanent scowl and a wad of chewing tobacco in his cheek. Broad-shouldered and commanding, he ran a trucking company that employed half the town. His family had deep roots in Willow Creek, and he saw Sarah as an intruder. Travis had wanted the Miller farm for years to expand his business with a warehouse. When Sarah outbid him at the auction, paying cash, he took it personally. To him, she was a city slicker who didn't belong, and he was determined to drive her out. Assisting him were his younger brother, Cody, a wiry 28-year-old with a mean streak, and their cousin Nate, a hulking man who followed Travis like a loyal dog. The ringleader was Travis Boone, a 35-year-old local with a permanent scowl and a wad of chewing tobacco in his cheek. Broad-shouldered and commanding, he ran a trucking company that employed half the town. His family had deep roots in Willow Creek, and he saw Sarah as an intruder. Travis had wanted the Miller farm for years to expand his business with a warehouse. When Sarah outbid him at the auction, paying cash, he took it personally. To him, she was a city slicker who didn't belong, and he was determined to drive her out. Assisting him were his younger brother, Cody, a wiry 28-year-old with a mean streak, and their cousin Nate, a hulking man who followed Travis like a loyal dog. Their harassment started small, knocking over trash cans, blasting music at midnight. But as weeks turned to months, their tactics grew bolder. They drove by her farm at all hours, revving engines and shouting insults. One night a brick crashed through her living room window with a note tied to it. "Last warning." Sarah held Emma close, her heart racing, but her resolve hardening. She wouldn't run from men like Travis. Sarah had kept her identity as the state attorney a secret. In Willow Creek, she was just Sarah Coleman, a single mom new to town. After Emma's birth, she'd taken a leave of absence, telling colleagues she needed family time. Only her deputy, Rachel Torres, knew her whereabouts. In Lincoln, Sarah's name had been in headlines after every big case, but here, she wanted to blend in, to be invisible. Yet invisibility came with a cost. Without her title, she was just a vulnerable woman, and Travis saw her as an easy target. The harassment escalated in the fall, when the fields glowed gold under the harvest moon. Sarah struggled to keep the farm afloat, hiring an older handyman, Jim, for repairs. But the vandalism drained her savings, crops trampled, water pumps sabotaged. One morning, she found a dead raccoon nailed to her porch, its blood pooling on the wood. Emma cried inside, and Sarah's hands shook as she called the sheriff again. Hal arrived 2 hours later, glancing at the raccoon. "Kids playing pranks, probably," he muttered. Sarah's voice was steady but cold. "This isn't kids, Sheriff. This is a threat." He shrugged, promising to look into it. She knew he wouldn't. That night, with Emma asleep, Sarah sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop. She hadn't touched her work email in months, but now she logged in. A message from Rachel waited. "Heard you're having trouble out there. Need me to pull some strings?" Sarah hesitated. She didn't want to drag her old life into this, but the stakes were rising. She typed a brief reply, "Not yet. I'll handle it." The next day, the confrontation came. The 3 men stood at her property line, Travis in the lead, his eyes narrowed. "Time to pack up, city girl," he sneered. "This land ain't yours." Sarah's grip tightened on Emma. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I bought this land fair and square. Leave, or you'll regret it." Cody laughed, stepping closer. "Or what? You gonna cry to the sheriff?" Nate loomed silently, his presence menacing. Sarah's mind raced. She could reveal her identity, but that would end her quiet life. Instead, she met Travis's gaze. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she said. Travis smirked, raising a hand to signal his crew. But before they could advance, a siren wailed in the distance. Hal's patrol car rolled up, and to Sarah's surprise, Rachel stepped out beside him. "Afternoon, gentlemen," Rachel said, her tone icy. "We've got a report of trespassing. Care to explain?" Travis's confidence faltered. "We were just talking," he muttered. Rachel smiled thinly. "Talk's over. Leave. Now." The men retreated, casting glares over their shoulders. Hal looked sheepish, but Rachel's presence shifted the dynamic. Later, Rachel explained she'd driven out after Sarah's email, sensing trouble. "You don't have to do this alone," she said. That night, Sarah rocked Emma, the farmhouse creaking around them. She'd fought battles in courtrooms, but this was personal. Travis and his crew underestimated her, a mistake they'd soon regret. As state attorney, she knew how to build a case. She'd document every incident, every threat, and when the time was right, she'd bring the full weight of the law down on them. For now, she'd protect her daughter and her home, proving that strength wasn't just in a title, it was in a mother's love. The wind died down, and the fields grew still. Sarah smiled at Emma's sleeping face, her resolve unbreakable. Willow Creek would learn who she was, but on her terms. This was her fight, and she would win.